This intimidating hurdle in human anatomy, the 12 cranial nerves, looks like a chaotic web of intersecting lines. Human memory struggles to retain abstract lists. Without a physical anchor, raw data evaporates the moment we stop repeating it. But our ancestors relied on spatial awareness to survive. We evolved to track routes through a forest and remember the sequence of a hunt, turning geography into a survival narrative. We can use that evolutionary bias by employing the method of loci. By placing information inside a mental map of a physical space, we stop memorizing and start navigating. To learn the 12 cranial nerves, we'll simply walk through a familiar environment, a cafe. By the time we reach the exit, each nerve will be attached to a specific, sequential event in the story. Imagine walking through the front doors of your favorite cafe. Immediately, you use your one nose to smell the rich aroma of roasted coffee beans. This is Cranial Nerve I, the olfactory nerve, which handles your sense of smell. You use your two eyes to look across the room and spot a massive chocolate cake in the display case. That's Cranial Nerve II, the optic nerve, responsible for vision. Your eyes widen, your eyelids lift, and your pupils dilate at the sight of the cake. This physical reaction is driven by Cranial Nerve III, the oculomotor nerve, which controls eye movement, eyelid elevation, and pupil size. You look down and inward at your wallet to see if you have enough cash for a slice. That specific downward and medial gaze is the work of Cranial Nerve IV, the trochlear nerve. You buy a tough, crunchy biscotti instead. As you bite down, you feel the texture and use your chewing muscles to break it apart. Facial sensation and chewing come from Cranial Nerve V, the trigeminal nerve. Suddenly, the barista shouts. You dart your eyes outward to the side to see what the commotion is about. Looking outward, or abducting the eye, is Cranial Nerve VI, the abducens. By following this sequence, smelling the air, seeing the cake, checking your wallet, and biting the snack, you've linked the first 6 nerves to a chronological experience. You realize the barista was just greeting a friend. Relieved, you break into a massive smile and take another bite, tasting the sweet sugar on the front of your tongue. Smiling and tasting on the front 2/3 of the tongue is Cranial Nerve VII, the facial nerve. Over the cafe music, you hear your name called. You quickly spin around to look, keeping your balance as you move. Hearing and balance are handled by Cranial Nerve VIII, the vestibulocochlear nerve. You take a gulp of your coffee, feeling the liquid hit the back of your throat as you swallow. That swallow and the taste on the back third of your tongue come from Cranial Nerve IX, the glossopharyngeal nerve. You sit down in a comfortable chair and let out a long sigh. Your heart rate slows and your stomach begins to digest the biscotti. These parasympathetic functions are the domain of Cranial Nerve X, the vagus nerve. A friend asks if you're ready for your exams. You casually shrug your shoulders and turn your neck to reply. This movement is controlled by Cranial Nerve XI, the accessory nerve. You finish your snack, sticking your tongue out to lick a final crumb off your lip. Tongue movement is the final piece, Cranial Nerve XII, the hypoglossal nerve. This progression from sensory intake to physical relaxation mirrors a real human experience, making the sequence of nerves follow the logic of the story rather than a list of definitions. Let's test the memory. Which nerve controls swallowing, and which one allows you to look down and inward? You don't need to recite a textbook. You remember taking a gulp of coffee, glossopharyngeal, and looking down at your wallet, trochlear. The 12 cranial nerves now exist as a sequence of physical actions. The biology is tied to the movement, making the information as accessible as the layout of the cafe itself. Complexity is often a byproduct of how information is presented. By building cognitive scaffolding out of space and story, even the most dense biological systems become intuitive.